So it's the weekend, so it's time to update the spreadsheet for my YieldMax high yield ETFs. We're going to enter in those distributions, any purchases that I did make, update that sheet and see where I'm currently at. And we're also going to take a look at a couple covered call options that I do still have open, because I want to show you a new sheet that I am working on that helps me to see what I stand to win for each of those. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to update my high yield ETF stock tracker sheet, and we're going to see where I'm currently setting after we enter in those distributions and a couple purchases that I did make. And then toward the end of the video, we're going to take a look at a couple covered calls that I still have open. And I wanted to show you a new sheet that I am working on. It's not quite done. It's still got some work to do, but I want to show you where I'm currently setting with that sheet, as I'm trying to get it wrapped up so I can get that out and available to my Discord members. So if you enjoy this type of content, please make sure to hit that like button, as it would be much appreciated. So before we get into that sheet, just wanted to take a look at Bitcoin just to see where it's currently setting, as that does affect some of our ETFs that we do have with those high yield ETFs. And as you can see, Bitcoin is down, right? It is at a 77.6K. We have come all the way down, and we are sitting at a previous resistance line that we had drawn in. And I've got that drawn in at about 77.7. So we are sitting pretty much right there on it. And if we zoom back, you can see that that is where it was somewhat bouncing off of previously. So Bitcoin has taken a bit of a fall. So therefore, that is affecting some of those high yield ETFs that we do track and do hold, whether it's with YieldMax, Defiance, Roundhill, or whichever ones that you have. It does affect those for sure. So with the fall of Bitcoin right here, that is going to change a little bit of my strategy, as I was buying CONY and WDTE and so forth if it was at the bottom of that Bollinger Band, because I was hoping and looking for Bitcoin to bounce off of that 84, but we did break below it, and we have since come all the way down to about 77. So if Bitcoin is going to continue to come on down, I'm going to have to put a hold on purchases of those high yield ETFs like CONY and WDTE until Bitcoin can seem to find the bottom, and then I can start buying again. Because if it's going to continue to fall down, this is what we're seeing on CONY right here, as it's coming down as well. And you can see WDTE is doing the same thing. So since Bitcoin here has broke that 84, I'm putting a bit of a hold on those purchases until Bitcoin can show me something different. But let's go ahead and update that spreadsheet, as I did make a purchase on both CONY and WDTE, and mostly because I was using that support line on Bitcoin of about 84 as my reason for buying. But since it did break, I am now going to put a hold on those purchases. So let's go ahead and update that spreadsheet and find out where I'm setting. And here we are on my stock tracker sheet. And as I said, with that fall of Bitcoin, it is affecting some of these ETFs, because they're definitely not going to go up if Bitcoin is going down. It's not going to defy gravity. But we can still lower that real price per share on each one of these just by capturing those distributions. But before we get in here and update this, if you would like a copy of this stock tracker sheet so that you can track where your real price per share is, or your adjusted price per share, then come on over, join the Discord, where you can get a link to this sheet so that you can find out for yourself, of the ones that you own, what your adjusted price per share actually is, as that will help you to determine if it's the right time to buy, if it's the right time to hold, or even if you're just profitable or not in that position. And if that is a red sell, then at that moment or at that time, then you're currently down in that play. If it is green, that means that you're currently up in that play. And what that all means is if you were to sell at that current market price, then I would be up in the position if it's green, and I would be down in the position if it is red. And if I scroll over, even though I have 4 red ones out of a total of 15, the rest are green. But if Bitcoin's going to continue to fall, then I am not going to continue to buy as it's coming down. I would much rather wait until it hits the bottom and then start buying, as at that point, hopefully it can start moving up. So let's just go ahead and start right off here with CONY. And to get to the individual sheet where you enter in your distributions or purchases, all you have to do is hover over the stock ticker. The link pops up, you click it, and there you go. You're right into that individual sheet. And at that point, you can see your distributions you've entered, and you can see your purchases that you have made. And on CONY, I did make a purchase, and I made that purchase on 128. I purchased those shares at $35 per share, and I bought 20 shares. Now, that's going to lower my real price per share of $44.28, and that's going to take it down to $43.22. With the current price of CONY being $32.55 means if I were to sell at the current price, I will lose money on this deal. But as I said, with Bitcoin coming down, it's going to affect CONY as well. But as it stands, I stand to lose about $1,800 on CONY. Now we did earn a distribution, so let's go ahead and enter that, as that will help to lower that real price per share just a bit more. Now, how many shares can I count for this distribution? I can count for all the shares that are purchased before January the 29th, as this date here is the X date. I must own those shares before the X date. And all my shares are before that date because my last purchase was on the 28th. Therefore, I can account for all 175 shares for this new distribution of about 30 cents. So I enter in 175 into this column, and that's going to change my real price per share from $43.22, and it's going to lower it down to $42.91, bringing it on down. But as I said before, we do need Bitcoin to level off, find the bottom, and then start moving back up. But until then, we're going to see some of these continue to move down if Bitcoin continues to move down. Next, we have PLTY. And on PLTY, I did not purchase any additional shares because the current price is above my real price per share, and I do not want to buy above my real price per share because I do not want to increase it. I only want to decrease. And as you can see currently, I only need about 3 more distributions, and that's estimated at roughly a 40 cents per distribution to get to the paid off status. And these are both estimated numbers, so these can change and it can adjust the time period that you need to get this paid off. But our current distribution was 36 cents, and I have a total of 37 shares. So when I enter in the 37 here, it's going to lower my real price per share from 91 cents down to 54 cents. And also note that the number of distributions also dropped to 2 distributions. So if I get 2 more distributions at roughly an average about 40 cents each, this should be paid off in just 2 more distributions. And then PLTY will then be at paid off status. And that is a happy moment. But currently I'm at a 54 cent per share for my real price per share. And if I were to sell PLTY at the current price, I would make $1,500. And that's pretty good money. Next, we have NVDY. Now, NVDY, we earn 10 cents in that distribution. I have a total of 71 shares. And my real price per share being $11.95 is going to drop down to $11.84. So if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I make about $196. Not a whole lot, but it is still green, and I'm still bringing in those distributions. For ULTY, We earned 50 cents for this round. How many shares do I own? And that would be 56 shares. So my real price per share of $37.51 now drops to $37.01. Brought it on down. Now the price of ULTY did drop a little because of the market, and it is sitting at $35.99. So therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I would lose $56. And moving on to MSTY. And for MSTY, we earned 37 cents. I have a total of 95 shares, and therefore my real price per share being minus 6.38, meaning that's how much I'm actually in the good, because as you can see, I am in paid off status. So at 37 cents per share for 95 shares, that real price per share of minus 638 keeps coming on down to a minus 676. So I am moving even further away from that zero, meaning that is well above what I actually had invested in it. So therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $27.18, I would earn $3,223. A nice little chunk of change. And on SMCY, we earn 9 cents. I have a total of 300 shares, and therefore my real price per share of $8.13 now becomes $8.03. SMCY did drop a little this week, and therefore if I were to sell all my shares, I would lose $126. Not too bad. It is a loss, but it's not much. On AMDY, we earn 54 cents. I have 164 shares, and my real price per share of $30.50 now becomes $29.95. And with the actual price of AMDY at $37.40, therefore, if I had to sell all my shares at that current price, I would make $1,221. So as you can see already, I am making more than I'm losing. And sometimes that is part of the game. You can't win 100% of the time. You just need your winners to outweigh your losers. And on YMAX, we earned 8 cents. I have 758 shares. Therefore, my real price per share of $7.45 will now become $7.37. And therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $9.34, I would make $1,494. Another win. And on HUI, I did make a purchase on HUI on 1/28, and I purchased those at $42.99 per share, and I purchased 15 shares. And again, I made these purchases because I was looking for Bitcoin to bounce off of that support, but since it did break down below it, I will be putting a hold on purchasing more shares until we can get to a level of support on Bitcoin. But currently, buying those shares at $42.99, it will lower that real price per share of $46.59, and it's going to drop it down to $46.12. And we also earned a distribution of 45 cents. And how many shares do I have? Well, let's see. If the X date for that distribution is January 29th, I must own all those shares before that date to count for this distribution. And my last purchase being on January 28th means I can count for all 116 shares. So I can enter in 116 into this column. It will do its calculation, and it's going to lower my real price per share of $46.12 down to $45.67. Bringing it on down. So after making that purchase and earning that distribution, I dropped my real price per share almost $1 in just that week. But since HUI did drop and it's currently sitting at $40.63, I am still at a loss on this one. And if I were to sell at that $40.63, I would lose $584. And moving forward to QDTE, I have a total of 155 shares, and therefore my real price per share of $22.81 now becomes $22.71. With the current price of $30.75, if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I am going to make $1,246.50. So that alone just covered the loss on HUI. And like I said, at least I am making more than I'm losing. And that is the ultimate goal that you want to accomplish. In IWMY, we earned 11 cents this round. And how many shares do I have? That's 551 shares. So my real price per share of $15.77 now becomes $15.66. And if I were to sell all my shares, I would earn $2,394. Now that's a nice chunk as well. QQQY, we earned 13 cents. I have 551 shares of this one as well. And that real price per share of $20.25 now becomes $20.11. So selling all those shares, I will make $1,695. On WDTE, we earned 18 cents. I have 540 shares. My real price per share of $26.51 now becomes $26.32. Selling all those shares at the current market price of WDTE will provide me with a gain of $2,691. Nice. So even though some of these are coming down a little bit, I am still up in the plays. And while they are coming down, I'm also bringing my real price per share down along with it. But in the end, yes, I still need the underlying to help me out. It needs to level off and start moving up. And that's what we need for Bitcoin. Next, I have JEPQ. JEPQ is a monthly payer, and it did make a payment of 46 cents for this round. And I have a total of 55 shares. But can I count for all 55 shares? Well, I must own them before 2/2. And my last purchase was on January 2nd. And since that is before that X date, I can count for all 55 shares. So I enter in 55 into this column, and that's going to lower my real price per share from $10.66 down to $10.19. And therefore, selling all my shares at that current price, I'll make $2,708. Last but not least, I have Divo. And for Divo, I did earn a distribution for this one. And this will be actually my first distribution. And they're going to pay out 18 cents. I have a total of a whopping 12 shares. And I enter in those 12 shares into this column. And therefore, my real price per share of $45.30 now drops to $45.12. And that is moving my real price per share down, even though DIVO is moving up in price. So I am moving further away from that current market price by capturing those distributions, which only helps to increase my potential gain. And that wraps up all the ETFs that I own in these high yield ETFs. And to get back to my summary page, it's easy just to click on this button right here. And this is available on each of those individual sheets where you can just hover over it and you click the pop-up right here. Takes you right back to that summary page and you can see exactly where you stand on each of those ETFs. And with that pullback in the market that we've been having, and especially in Bitcoin, currently, if I were to sell out of all of my ETFs that I currently have, I would come out making a total of about $16,000. So currently, I'm still in the green, even if I decided to go ahead and just get out of every single one of them, sell out of all of them at that current price, I would make and clear $16,000. Of course, not including any taxes or fees. But overall, I am still up. But with the fall of Bitcoin, it has made it a bit more difficult. But now let's go ahead and let's take a look at a couple of the covered call options that I still have open. And let's look at a spreadsheet that I am working on to help to try to track and see what and how much I am possibly able to make off of each option play. And for these that I'm getting ready to show, these are live trades. I do actually have these open. So I have real money at risk, and I don't suggest that you put real money at risk. You're more than welcome to try out a covered call if you would like, but I would suggest until you understand it and you get comfortable with it, try to paper trade first. Therefore, you don't have real money involved, and if it is a loss, it's not real money you're losing, as that makes taking those losses a bit easier. But let's take a look at the ones that I do have open currently, and the first one being CRDO. So for CRDO, this one here is an out-of-the-money covered call. And in this sheet that I'm working on, it is not completed yet, as it is still changing. I am trying to make it to where it will be for both in the money and out of the money covered calls. The OTM, of course, being out of the money, you would enter in the date that you made the purchase, the ticker, there's your purchase price, the expiration date, your strike, and of course the premium that's paid to you and how many contracts. Everything else gets calculated. And like I said, I'm still working out the bugs and trying to work it so that it will fit both in the money and out of the money covered calls. But as you can see for CRDO, I got paid $4.30 for this option. And I opened it on January the 30th and it expires February the 6th. So this is for 1 week. I earned $4.30 times one contract, and each contract is 100 shares. Therefore, they paid me $430. Now, since this is a covered call, I did purchase those shares at $129 per share. Therefore, my total invested cost is $12,900 to make that $4.30 or $430. Now, that is a 3.3% gain on my money for this trade. Now, if I were to multiply that out to find out what that would be estimated out for 1 month or per month, then that comes up to be roughly a 20% per month. Wow, right? That's some crazy money. That's a high percentage. Now, CRDO is more of a volatile stock, so you do have to be careful with any position, of course. But for this one, the way I've set it up, it is out of the money because I own those shares at 129 and I sold a call at 130. So the amount that I'm looking at making if it does close above 130 is only $1 per share times 100 shares is $100. But the premium that I do earn, no matter what, is $430. But if it actually does go through and it closes above that 130, that 430 will then be added to that price difference of $100. So the total amount that I potentially could make is $530 if it does close above that 130. Now, currently the price of CRDO down here at the bottom is $125.28. So it is currently down below that strike. So if that is still under 130 by February the 6th, then I keep my shares. I still earned the $430, but then I can turn right around and sell another covered call against my shares to make even more premium. So as you can see, there's only 5 days left in the trade for CRDO. But no matter what happens, I did make 3.3% on this trade alone. A very nice return on your money. And at a 20% estimated per month, you can't beat that, right? Wow. And the second one that I still have open is for TJX. And this one I opened on 129. I purchased those shares at 146.25. I have an expiration of February the 20th at a strike of 145. Now notice I purchased them at 146.25 and I'm selling them for 145, which is under what I paid for them. So that is $1.25 loss in the price of that sell. Well, I don't want to lose the money. So why would I do that? Well, by selling in the money covered call, they will pay me that price difference right there. in premium. So that's where that $1.25 comes in. Well, they paid me $3.40. So $1.25 of that $3.40 is the loss part. So that's covered. Well, what's left? The leftover part is $2.15. That's how much I actually stand to make, because I don't make the $1.25. That $1.25 is only to cover that loss by selling them cheaper than I purchased them. But I'm looking to earn that premium of $2.15 times 100 shares times how many contracts. That would be $215 in my pocket. So that option alone will earn me 1.4% on that play. And then that multiplied out gives me an estimated amount of about 2.3% for the month. And that's estimated. And that's pretty good money. Not as profitable, of course, as CRDO, but it's also not as volatile as CRDO. But the reason I sell in the money cover call is because I want those shares to be taken. So I sell a strike below what I purchased them for in hopes that that helps to get those sold. Now, if they do not, and it does close under this strike of 145 by February the 20th, then I keep my shares and I can look to sell another call. And at that point, I would probably be selling an out of the money cover call because I would probably be looking for something just above my purchase price. But this sheet does help me to decide what to do, because all I got to do is enter in the information in the gray cells right here, and everything else is calculated out. I can find out how much I actually stand to earn off of that position, whether it's percentage or dollar amount, right? So I can decide if that amount of money that I'm looking to make, is it worth that option? And if I feel it is, and for me, making $215, that's good money. And then I can use that money, redeploy it into other investments. Now, once I get this sheet here wrapped up to where I feel like it is working well, I will make this available to my Discord members, as this will be my selling cover call tracker. As you can see, I've got a couple others down here, the AVGO and Palantir, that I did do a couple little paper trades on. And that's what I mean by paper trading. You can actually just enter in the information, just like if you were to purchase it and find out by expiration, did it work out for you? What do you need to adjust? Did you pick the right strike price? Did you give yourself enough buffer between your price and the strike price? And all of that is part of the learning curve. But at least this puts the numbers in front of you and helps you so that you can make that decision. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.